If you were a young woman in 19th century England, romance was a luxury you couldn't afford. Marriage was a ruthless economic transaction. Wealthy, single men were actively hunted by desperate families looking to secure their financial future. The Bennet family was caught in a legal trap called an entailment. Mr. Bennet's estate could only pass to a male heir. With 5 daughters and no sons, his death would transfer everything to a cousin, leaving his family destitute. Mrs. Bennet's frantic obsession with marrying her daughters off to wealthy men was a completely rational response to this impending poverty. Then, the ultimate matrimonial prizes arrive in town. A wealthy bachelor, Mr. Bingley, moves to a nearby estate, bringing his aristocratic friend, Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy. We can see the economic reality of the era through these historic 1806 copper coins. Darcy's income was £10,000 a year, a staggering fortune that made him the most powerful man in any room. For women in this society, finding a husband had nothing to do with poetry or passion. It was a high-stakes game of survival, where failing to secure a ring meant absolute ruin. When the town throws a grand ball, we see 2 entirely different approaches to the social game. Jane Bennet and Mr. Bingley experience an instant, genuine connection. But Mr. Darcy refuses to dance, standing in the corner and looking down on the rural crowd with complete arrogance. When Bingley suggests Darcy dance with Jane's sharp-witted sister, Elizabeth, Darcy delivers an insult that Elizabeth overhears perfectly. He says she is, quote, tolerable, but not handsome enough to tempt me. That single sentence sets the entire story in motion. It deeply wounds Elizabeth's self-respect. She vows to hate him, cementing a deep prejudice against his character, all while Darcy's blinding pride keeps him isolated. Elizabeth's worldview is immediately put to the test when her distant cousin, Mr. Collins, the very man set to inherit her home, proposes to her. He offers absolute financial security, wrapped in a deeply awkward and transactional pitch. Elizabeth flatly rejects him, choosing uncertainty over a marriage devoid of mutual respect. Her bias is pushed further by the arrival of George Wickham, a charming, handsome army officer. Wickham feeds Elizabeth a perfectly crafted lie, claiming Darcy stole his inheritance out of jealousy and left him destitute. Elizabeth accepts this story without a single shred of proof. We are remarkably quick to trust a charming lie if it validates our existing bias. Elizabeth's ego dictates her reality, blinding her to the facts right in front of her. The consequences of these fragile egos escalate rapidly. Bingley suddenly abandons Jane and returns to London without explanation. Elizabeth watches her sister's heartbreak, absolutely convinced that Darcy orchestrated the separation because the Bennets lacked wealth and status. Months later, Darcy corners Elizabeth and makes his own disastrous proposal. In the same breath he confesses his ardent love for her, he loudly insults her family, complaining about how hard he had to fight his feelings because of her inferior social class. Elizabeth's reaction is explosive. She rejects him entirely, accusing him of sabotaging Jane's happiness and ruining Wickham's life. She tells Darcy he is the last man on earth she would ever marry. The next morning, Darcy intercepts Elizabeth and silently hands her a letter. He doesn't offer apologies, only facts. He admits to separating Jane and Bingley to protect his friend from what he saw as an insincere match. Then he exposes Wickham as a gambling manipulator who had actually tried to elope with Darcy's 15-year-old sister to steal her £30,000 fortune. As Elizabeth reads the letter, her worldview collapses. She realizes her pride in her own sharp judgment made her completely blind. She had misjudged both men entirely. Elizabeth's perspective shifts further during a visit to Darcy's massive estate in Derbyshire. From the servants who have known him since childhood, she learns Darcy is kind and generous. When Darcy unexpectedly arrives, he is polite, humble, and treats her working-class relatives with total respect. But right as they begin to reconnect, disaster strikes. Elizabeth receives news that her 15-year-old sister, Lydia, has run off with George Wickham. In this era, a scandal of this magnitude guarantees the total social and financial ruin of the entire Bennet family. No respectable man will ever marry the remaining sisters. When Darcy hears this, he immediately leaves for London. He tracks Wickham down himself. Out of his own pocket, Darcy pays off Wickham's debts, buys him a military commission and forces him to marry Lydia, single-handedly saving the Bennet family from destruction. He does all of this under the strict condition of absolute secrecy. He explicitly orders that no one in the Bennet family can know he provided the money. He takes no credit and demands nothing in return. True love isn't measured by charming public declarations. It is proven by silent, expensive sacrifices made when no one else is watching. Elizabeth's evolution is complete when she is confronted by Darcy's terrifying aristocratic aunt, Lady Catherine de Bourgh. Lady Catherine demands Elizabeth promise never to marry Darcy due to her lack of status. Elizabeth stands her ground, refusing to be intimidated by wealth or rigid social rules ever again. When Darcy proposes for the second time, the dynamic is completely different. The proposal succeeds because both individuals have shed their past flaws. Darcy has abandoned his aristocratic pride, and Elizabeth has let go of her stubborn prejudice. Unlike her friend Charlotte, who settled for a transactional marriage based on fear and finances, Elizabeth secures a partnership built on intellectual equality and genuine mutual respect. The ultimate path to real connection requires dismantling our own egos. When we look past superficial first impressions and value true character over societal expectations, we finally see people for who they really are.